Morning, guys. You can just sit down. Please take out your poetry books. Morning, guys. You need one more? How are you doing today? You're tired? Same. I'm also tired. How are you guys tired? It doesn't mean you can talk it. That means you don't sleep at night. Yes. I need to sleep. Did everybody get a paper? So, we are doing Sonnet 18. All eyes on me, we're focusing. All eyes on me. We are doing Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. And as you can see, we have flowers, we have nature. What do we think so far about this poem? Any ideas? Summer. What else? Summer's Day. Love. Are you saying love because of the red flowers? What else? The butterfly. What else? Beauty. Okay. So this poem is by William Shakespeare. So we're just going to do a very quick background on William. So William wrote 37 plays and 154 sonnets. 154 sonnets. And this is just number 18. So as you can see right next to sonnet 18 we have Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day. So the title is Sonnet 18. However, with the sonnets, obviously you're not going to remember all of the 154 sonnets. So the first line right next to the sonnet, people will refer to these sonnets by the first line, because shall I compare thee to a summer's day? That's a very quick and easy way to remember the title or the poem, right? So with William, as I've already mentioned, he wrote 154 sonnets, and with these sonnets he composed them between 1593 and 1601. So imagine such a long time to write all of these sonnets. And then he only published it in 1609. So he took about like 8 years to make it perfect. We're seeing that he's a very perfectionist because he took so long to write all of this, and then he took time to publish it, right? And then he was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, and he's an actor and a writer in London. So during the 1600s, if you're living in London, very old English, right? And then As I've written here, or as you can see here, Earl of Southampton became his patron. So what is a patron? So a patron is somebody who financed his art. So during this time, art, whether it's paintings, it's music, it's plays, it was very significant because during that time you didn't have a TV, you didn't have a cell phone, so how did the people keep themselves busy? They read books, they went to go watch plays. So obviously, William made a living through his art. So, it is believed that Sonnet 18 was dedicated to Earl, as he was very fond of him. Now, as we've mentioned at the beginning that the sonnet is associated to love and everything, I was also confused because what do you mean he wrote this for Earl of Southampton? Which shows that he loved him so much because he was giving him the money. He was bringing the money, making sure that he's making the bag, right? So obviously, if somebody is making me money, I'll also love them very much that I'll write them a poem. So, William Shakespeare retired from stage after 1612. And then obviously he passed away in 23 April 1616 at the age of 52. So if you want to know more about what happened to him, you can just go to Google and search. Right, so the reason why we are going to this background of the poem is that we want to understand that why did he write about this friend or this guy? So immediately now that we are going through this background, you are getting an idea that, okay, he liked him so much that he's comparing him to a summer's day, or is he comparing him to a summer's day, right? And then I'm just going to read this poem. As a creative myself, I'm going to read this very dramatically because this is Old English. So starting, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his golden complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou oust. Nor shall death break thou wanderest in his shade, when eternal lines time growest thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So now you're like, yo, this guy's so dramatic. Thou, thee. Like, why can't you just say you? Like, he's very, very dramatic. But obviously during that time, English was very, very dramatic. Because obviously if you're watching something for a very long time, you want to be entertained. You're not just going to sit there. You're going to get bored, right? So, a brief summary of Sonnet 18 is that Sonnet 18 is written to praise the youthfulness, attractiveness, and positive characteristics of a young person. So the young person in question here is Earl Hamilton. Is it Hamilton or Southampton? Yes. So, he's praising his characteristics like, oh my gosh, he's so youthful, positive characteristics, right? And then starts with the rhetorical question. Should the person's beauty be compared to the beauty of a summer's day? So, shall I compare thee to a summer's day is a rhetorical question. And what is a rhetorical question? Right. So, he's making you think, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And then obviously, the speaker here is William himself. And he's answering himself by saying that the young person is more beautiful and has a milder nature than English summer. Moving on, summer. Summer is strong, destructive winds blow, too short, too hot, sometimes overcast. We're going to see this as we're reading and we want to understand why are we saying this. And obviously, depending on where you live, the summer differs, right? And then every beautiful thing in nature will lose its beauty. How did we get there now? Obviously at the beginning we're like, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? My first instinct was thinking, he's writing this to his crush because he's like, I want to compare you to a summer's day. But now we're seeing that we're saying nature will lose its beauty. So So we're seeing that poetry, there is more to what we see, the surface. We have to dig in and we further understand what the poet means. Then the speaker makes a startling claim: the young person will never grow old or become less beautiful by aging or chance. The young person's beauty will grow with the passing of time. So the poem will ensure that the memory of the person's youth, beauty, and excellence will never die. So even as they are both dead, his friend will never die because of this poem, because he cherished his memory in this poem. Now, with the English sonnets, it has about 14 lines. So, looking at this poem right here, we see that it doesn't have any numbers, right? So, you will number this poem to help you, so that when we are discussing line for line and we're saying line 1, you can see through the number that, okay, this is line 1, this is line 2. So, an English sonnet has steady rhythm. So this little part here, we're going to come back to it. So, you can obviously do not copy this down. We're going to come back to it as we are going through this poem. And this poem has 3 quatrains. Can anybody tell me what a quatrain is? 4 lines, right? So, when we think of quad, we think of 4. And then, it ends with a rhyming couplet, which is what? 2 lines. So when we think of 2, we think of a what? A couple. Because how many people? 2. So the poet argues in the first 3 quatrains. So, on your paper, you are going to separate your poem into 3 quatrains. As we've said that a quatrain has what? 4 lines. Meaning 1, 2, 3, 4 will be in its own brackets. And then further down, its own brackets. And then the last 2 will have their own bracket because they are what? A couplet. And then, we are seeing here, we're speaking about a rhyme scheme. And we're seeing letters here, A, B, A, B. Are we coding in English? So, with the ABA, the letters are referring to the rhyme scheme. So if you look at this example here, line 1 and line 3, the day and May, they are rhyming, right? So with the rhyming schemes, if you are identifying that the first line and the second line are the same, you categorize them into one group, which would be A, right? So right next to your little poem, you will write the rhyme scheme. As I have shown you here, A, B, A. So A, which is line 1, and another A in line 3, because they are rhyming, right? And then with the B, the temperament and dates. So we're seeing that line 1 and 2, it doesn't match, right? So we are starting a new category, which would be B. So when you are analyzing your poem and you're seeing that line 1 and 2 are not rhyming, immediately you start a new category, which would be B. Right over next to it here. And then B, which is line 2 and 4, we're seeing temperament and date are the same rhyme scheme. Therefore, they fall into one category. Then as you go further down in your poem, we're seeing the rhyme scheme, right? So as I've mentioned, the 3 quatrains, the poet argues in these first 3 quatrains that his friend is better than the summer's day. And then the last 2 are the conclusion, a very strong conclusion that the friend will eternally live in this poem.
Does it happen that in the poem you take more than one rhyme scheme?
Yes, it does happen. It obviously depends on the writer. It just depends on the writer in what they wanted to achieve in their poem. So obviously, if you want to write poetry as well, you can put different rhyme schemes in your poem. And then moving on. I will not be discussing the themes right now because I want us to go into the poem straight. So line 1, as you can see, it's highlighted, encircled. So you can choose to either highlight or circle. We're gonna go line for line. The first line, shall. As we've already mentioned that the first line is a rhetorical question. Shall expresses uncertainty. Will this comparison do justice to his friend? So now, shall. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Am I sure? Do I really want to compare him to a summer's day? And obviously, since it's a rhetorical question, we're not going to answer him, but he wants to pose an idea in your mind to think, should I compare him to a summer's day? And then the D. In Old English, you will not see the apostrophe obviously here, but if there were to be the apostrophe shows possession as he's addressing the beloved directly. And then obviously the D is also old-fashioned English for you. So instead he should have said, should I compare you to a summer's day? But obviously he didn't because he said thee, which is English for you. And this indicates a close relationship or special bond. So he wouldn't have written thee if this person wasn't close to him. He wouldn't write this to somebody he does not know. So it shows that he has a very close relationship with the person he wrote this poem to. And to a summer's day is a metaphor. And what does a metaphor do? Comparison, right? So the metaphor here that we're seeing is comparing his beloved to a pleasant long summer. So summer here is a symbol of the most pleasant weather, which is perfect season with no flaws. So you're just going to copy each of these analysis onto your poem, and I'll give you time, and then we move further down. Are we still busy writing?
Singles, you could add, if we miss anything, obviously this is one of our prescribed poems and we will have to finish it next week because Ms. Kanye is only here today, so I will finish it next week if she does not complete it.
I'm going to give you just a few more seconds and then I'm moving on. And I am moving. Line 2. Thou art. So the thou art refers to you are. And it emphasizes a close relationship. So thou, thee, they immediately show that there's a close relationship. And then, more lovely. Beloved is physically more beautiful than beauty of summer's day. So, the beloved, which is the person the poem is written to, is physically more beautiful than beauty of a summer's day. And more temperate. So the person's temperament, which is the personality, is gentle and not as unpredictable as the summer's weather. So he's saying that his friend has a gentle and not so unpredictable personality. And then the beloved is not as changeable, possesses a peacefulness and contentment, and is balanced in mood or temper. So he's saying that my friend, he's very gentle compared to summer. And then, as you can see with the colon right there, the colon shows that right after this line, the imperfections of summer are going to be listed afterwards. And then the conclusion in this is that he decides in favor of his beloved. He does not want to compare him to something as transient and imperfect as a summer's day. I think I wish I had a friend like William so that he can write me a poem and tell me that like I'm better than summer. Like, imagine.
You see these poems. You see now you are telling us word for word what they mean and how do they mean. Was it William who physically said, I mean this, or it was just people's thoughts?
So it depends. I do not really know the background when it comes to William, but normally with poets, they will obviously have a description of the poem and explain that when I was writing this poem, I was going through this emotions, and some poets will literally tell you the meaning. But obviously with William, he might have said something. The thing is with William, some of his poems have the same themes or more or less the same meanings. So as you analyze poetry, you obviously associate certain words with certain meanings because you're like, this guy likes to write about summer a lot. So obviously that means summer means this in this guy's meaning and whatnot. Make sense?
I think we should also understand that in Europe and that side, obviously the northern hemisphere, seasons are changed around. So when we get rough winds in August, which indicates the beginning of spring in September, they get the rough winds in May because their summer and spring starts in June.
Yeah.
I moved from here and now you found another.
Please repeat. He might be. Just gonna give you a few more seconds and then we're moving on. Yes.
Okay, thank you. It should be finished as well.
So guys, I had planned an activity for you guys, but then we're not gonna be able to do it because we're gonna have to go through all this poem. But then you never know. Maybe man will do it for you. You never know. She won't.
She won't.
So guys, I am moving on. Line 3. Rough winds. So, rough, which means we're referring to something harsh. So, what we are saying that the rough winds, sometimes harsh winds blow in May, as ma'am has already mentioned. There, basically, May in England during that time is autumn, just like right now. No, not autumn, guys. Spring, because during spring there's a lot of winds, right? So, sometimes harsh winds blow in May, shaking tender buds off. So as we're going to go further into the slide, we're going to be introduced to the buds. So the rough winds are very harsh to the tender buds. Meaning, these rough winds, he's saying that his friend is not unpredictable and erratic. So, this is personifying, or we are seeing a personification of wind, as wind acts violently towards the delicate buds. So he's saying that my friend is not unpredictable and erratic, he's not rough, he's very delicate. So we're saying rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. So I will be explaining the antithesis if we do get to the end. So do not worry, you just copy it down, but I will explain the antithesis. But the antithesis here is destructiveness of wind is contrasted to the vulnerability of the flower buds. And then darling buds. Immediately darling. Darling refers to dear, little, valuable. And then the bud, which is the partially open flower. So if you saw the picture at the beginning, did you see the flowers there? So with buds, buds are not fully developed flowers, showing that they're very delicate. The wind can just blow and destroy them, right? So we're seeing that he's referring to his friend as very dear, little, valuable. And then the darling buds of May. As we have said, in May, England's summer starts in June to August. That means May is the beginning of the warmer weather. Are we still busy writing? Are we still busy?
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, guys, I am moving. Line 4. And a summer's lease has all too short a date. So, we are seeing a personification. Summer is compared to a person renting a property. Property emphasized summer is brief. So how do we know that it's being compared to a person renting a property? They're speaking about a lease. So a lease is a contract to rent. Where I am staying right now, I have a 10-month lease. So it's starting from February up to November. After November, I must leave, right? So with the lease, as I've mentioned, it's a contract to rent. Metaphorically describes fleeting nature of beauty. It will not last forever. As my lease, it will not last forever. Meaning that nature will not last forever. The beauty of it won't last forever, right? So, as we're moving on into the line, has all too short a date. So here, we see a personification. However, as we moved into the line, we are seeing that he's emphasizing how short it will be. So, as I've circled their dates, period of time for which property is leased, summer would disappear when lease has expired to make way for autumn. And then this line will be in contrast with line 9. As we move down, you will understand why we are saying that there's a contrast between line 4 and line 9. And then overall, summer lasts for only a short period of time. Like every other season, we only know that summer will start from here till here, right? This means that his beloved's beauty in comparison to summer is eternal, and not even death can affect it. So he's saying that his friend is not as short-lived as summer. He believes it will be immortalized in this poem. So through this poem, he's ensuring that his friend's beauty will be eternal and will not die. Who's still busy? Anybody still busy? Okay, just a few more seconds and then I'm moving on. Okay guys, I'm moving on. So, we have finished the first quatrain. So those first 4 lines, as I have told you to put the brackets, that's the first quatrain. Now we are moving on to the second quatrain. So, a new idea in the second quatrain. Basically, the first three quatrains, they all have the similar idea, but obviously in the second quatrain, the speaker continues to personify summer and gives examples of extremes of summer and its transit nature. So line 5, sometime. So sometime here means obviously occasionally, not all the time. Sometime too hot, the eye of heaven shines. So the sometime, as I've said, that sometime is not always but occasionally. The implication here is that it will happen sooner or later. It shows that it is inevitable decay of any form of beauty. So here is that at some point beauty will fade, right? And then the sun here is equal to how sometimes too hot or other times hidden by clouds. So obviously the sun is not always out. So it is clouded on other occasions. And then he's saying that his beloved's beauty doesn't change like the sun. And then, too hot, the eye of heaven. So, eye of heaven. So obviously the heavens do not have eyes, which is personification. Because the sun is now being compared to a person that looks down from above. And this creates the idea that the sun is beautiful and powerful. We're still busy. moving on. Line 6. So as you can see, it's encircled by a red block. So I'm first going to start with, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. So his complexion dimmed is a personification where he refers to the sun. So obviously the sun is not always very bright, right? So the sun is compared to a person with a beautiful complexion. It depicts the beauty of the sun, which is the provider of the light and heat. The golden, this is golden, not golden. The golden color of the sun is blotted out by the cloud, and the bright sun becomes dim and darkened. And then here, the gold suggests warmth. And then also, complexion, this is the color or lock of the skin. So we are referring to the beloved's skin here. And then,
Ms. Kandi, sorry, can I ask that they don't write the red inversion just yet? Shouldn't copy the inversion explanation yet. Okay?
so then with the dimmed, it's an elision of where the E is removed. So as you can see here, the elision. Dimmed is spelled with the E, but where's the E? It's gone, right? So they left out the E for the sake of meter. So here, line 6, in contrast with the sun, whose light is sometimes concealed, the speaker's beloved, or one who is loved, outshines the clouds of life and shines brightly no matter what. And then, if you notice, with the dimmed, what do we see next to the dimmed? Let's look on your papers. What do we see next to the dimmed? So, the semicolon has some form of significance here because there's something that follows behind that semicolon, right? Guys, please just don't forget, if you did not paste your paper, please paste it inside your book, otherwise you will lose it. Are we still busy? Yes, no? So guys, I am moving on. Line 7. And so Shakespeare used and a lot. So he used it in line 4, 6, and 7, which is repetition. So this repetition exposes the defects of a summer's day and stresses the unavoidable deterioration of beauty. So he keeps emphasizing, and this, and what? He's showing that this thing is deteriorating, beauty is deteriorating. And then if you notice with the little blue, the F isn't blue. This is an example of alliteration. So there is alliteration of F, and it emphasizes that everything fades with time. So, and every fair, from, fair, alliteration. And then encircled in purple, the fair and fair. The first fair, thing of beauty. Everything eventually loses its beauty either by accident or natural causes, even summer. So the repetition of fair highlights that this is fate and is inescapable. So you will age. You cannot run away from that. So the repetition shows that you cannot run away from that, and it's emphasizing it. And then, with the green, the sometime, as we have mentioned in the other line, sometime is at one time or another. So, and every fair from fair sometimes declines. So every beautiful thing, so all the beautiful things to beautiful things will decline. So, with declining goes what? Down. So, at some point, you were at the peak of your life, like right now, you are at the peak of your beauty at some point. And then it will decline because you will age, right?
guys, keep it in your book. We will finish it next week. And then obviously finish the other poem as well. So, enjoy your day and enjoy your weekend.